Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about incorporating essential elements of instruction. This is in your textbook. Starts on page 99, and we're really talking about 10 things that we can do, that you can do as a teacher to improve the quality of your instruction. The first one is to write measurable outcomes. The important part of this is that you can measure these outcomes and you can observe the behavior of the students. This will help you know if you're on the right track and that your teaching is being learned from your students. So here's an example of a measurable outcome. The student will demonstrate 4 ways to perform a forward roll. Easy to measure, easy to do. You can teach the student a variety of ways to do a forward roll, and then you can watch them and see if they can do at least 4 of those ways in order to do that. So it's a measurable outcome. Here's another example. Using a jump rope, the student will perform 3 consecutive forward crossover moves. So you would teach the students how to do these crossover moves, and then you could test them by having them perform crossover moves, and you could check to see if they've done 3 of those. To look at it from a cognitive perspective, you could have an outcome that says the student will explain when a corner kick is awarded. This would be something that's done in a game of soccer, and you could have the student explain when in the game, what happens in the game so that a corner kick is awarded for one team or the other. Another one about emotions would be the students will share how they feel about participating in physical activities with friends. You could partner them up with friends and then have them explain to each other how they feel about participating in your PE class and doing the different activities. Those are examples of measurable outcomes. So it's important to write measurable outcomes. The second strategy you can use, or the second element of instruction, would be to determine the entry level. This means that you're choosing the right point to introduce an exercise. So you don't want an exercise or an activity to be really, really easy for students, because they'll get bored with it. And you don't want an activity to be too difficult for students, because then they'll get frustrated with it. You need to choose the right entry point for that activity. One of the easiest ways to determine the proper entry level is to move through a series of activities until you notice several students having difficulty. And then you can find the right level of challenge for your students that they'll be properly motivated to do and still be able to have some success with. The third strategy is to use an anticipatory set. There's a number of ways to do this, but basically what you want to do is you want to get the students ready for the activity that you're going to do. So let's say that you could say last week we worked on tossing bean bags to each other. Remember, we learned that if you keep your eye on the bean bag or you toss the bean bag lower, it'll be easier for your partner to catch it. So you're trying to give them some cues before you ever start the exercise to get them thinking about what they're going to do and start to plan how they're going to do that and how they're going to be successful in doing that. You want to explain what they're going to learn. You want to explain what's going to happen before you actually do the activity, and that will help set them up to perform the activity. We do this in games. We'll talk about this later in the semester with games. Whenever you introduce a new game with students, you'll let them play the game for a minute or 2 to make sure everybody understands the rules before you actually start keeping score. So it's an anticipatory set. Number 4, you want to deliver meaningful skill instruction. So when you're instructing the students on how to perform skills, it's really important that you kind of follow some of these steps. 1, you want to limit the instruction to 1 or key points. Don't tell them, hey, here's the 8 ways to throw a baseball. Tell them, hey, here's the first thing you need to do, and here's the second thing you need to do, and then let them practice. And once they get good at those, then introduce more points. So it's short, it's clear, it's 1 or 2 points at a time. Another thing you would do with meaningful instruction is use the 30-second rule. When you stop and explain something to your class, you got about 30 seconds to do it, and then let them go ahead and practice. If you go beyond 30 seconds, they're not really going to be paying attention to you anymore, and you're giving them too much information. So the 30-second rule will help you. Another one is to present information in the most basic, easily understood form. The simpler you can explain it, the better you're going to do. Don't use any sports lingo. Use very clear, concrete instruction for the students. And the last thing you can do to help improve your skill instruction is to separate the management of the activity from the instruction phase of the activity. So instead of saying to students, hey, I want you to get in groups of 4, 2 of you get on this side of the gym, the other 2 of you get on this side of the gym, and once you get in those positions, we're going to roll the ball to each other, and the first person will roll it across to the second person, and then they'll hand it to the other part, their teammate, and then they'll roll it back to the other part of the gym. Go. That would not be a good way to do it. The best way would be to separate do the management part first, and then do the instruction. So I would say, get in groups of 4, 2 of you go to one side, 2 of you go to the other side, and let them do that. And then I would give them a ball and say, okay, this is what we're actually going to do. And here's the instruction. You're going to roll the ball, and you're going to use your right hand with your left hand out front, roll it nice and smooth across the gym. So I'm just separating the management part from the instruction part, which will make the instruction more meaningful. All right, the fifth element we're going to use is monitoring students' performance. What's important is that you as a teacher move around your gym or your recreational area. Make eye contact with students. If they know that you're watching them, they're gonna be more attentive to what they're doing. Don't give instruction from the same place in the gym every time. Move around and show up in unexpected places. So number 5 is actively monitoring the student's performance. Number 6 is using instructional cues. So if you can develop some short phrases that will help with your instruction, that will go a long way. So for instance, if we're teaching them how to throw a ball, we would tell them, step towards the target. When you take the ball, you hold it behind your ear, elbow up, take a step towards your target, and then throw. So step towards the target would be a short, action-oriented instructional cue. Another one could be keep your eye on the target when you're doing something. Another could be shift your weight from the rear foot to the front foot. But you want to develop instructional cues that you can use with students so that they'll memorize those and think about those when they're performing their technique. The 7th one is to enhance instruction by demonstrating skills. If you as a teacher can demonstrate how to perform the exercise and break it down into stages, that's going to help them. If you can demonstrate skills in slow motion, and it'll make it easier for the students. You could film a video of yourself performing the skill and then show the video to the class in slow motion, and that would be beneficial. So you can enhance your instruction by demonstrating the skills. Number 8 is you can use students to demonstrate skills. It's a way to reward students. It's a way to praise your students in front of their classmates. You can have the students perform a skill like throwing a ball or throwing a frisbee and watch and see who does it well, and then stop the class and let that person perform it in front of everybody, and then explain what they're doing technique-wise that helps them throw the frisbee so well. So you could use that to have the students demonstrate the skills, and you could do the teaching points from that. The 9th one is check for understanding. You want to watch the students. You want to ask them if they understand what they're doing. You want to look and see. You can ask them if they know instructions, and they can all respond together and say, hey, does everybody know how to throw the baseball? And then everybody as a group could say yes together. You could tell them to be ready to demonstrate. Hey, you're going to perform this skill, and then I want you to be ready to demonstrate how to perform a free throw in basketball to the whole class. And that will pique their interest and get them to pay a little bit more attention to what they're doing. If they know at the end they may have to demonstrate the skill. You can also use peer checking. You can partner them together and have their peers check to make sure everybody understands how to perform the skill. The last thing you want to do, the 10th thing, is to bring closure. You could finish your class by bringing everybody together and then reviewing what you did that day and reviewing the techniques and the cues that you used. I often finish class with an activity, with some sort of a game. So let's say that we were working on dribbling a basketball. At the end of the class, we would have some sort of a basketball type game where the students all have to dribble, where they have to use those skills. So that's one of the ways that I bring closure to it, is having them perform a closing activity. So those are 10 things that you can do. Let's see what we call this officially. It is 10 essential elements of instruction. There is going to be a quiz that's related to this where you have to list those elements. Good luck.